when you said you started this 15 years ago, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this full time, or is it like a side hustle at first?
It was a side, yeah. So I was a musician for 6 years. I toured and, put out my own records and did all that stuff. And Forecastle was really just a kind of tactic in my overall music strategy.
Yeah,
it's just like, well,
I'm going to throw a festival, but for myself.
It really was. No, it was.
I'm headlining.
It was totally like, yeah, it was totally self-absorbed.
Hey everyone, the podcast has grown tremendously in popularity and we're looking to take it to the next level. That's why in a few weeks, we're going to be introducing video. Yes, if you've been listening to this on iTunes or through your favorite podcast streaming service, don't worry, the audio isn't going anywhere. We're going to be bringing video of all of our podcasts going forward to Facebook and YouTube. To do this, we're going to be taking a few weeks off while we get the video process all figured out and get some releases lined up. We're also going to be hoping this new medium is going to bring more viewers and listeners. And we've got one or maybe possibly two more podcasts before we make the switch, so just hang tight. We appreciate everyone's support, and we hope you like this new twist we're going to be throwing on. Enjoy this week's episode.
Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof. And the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com, and you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long. From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixir's Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com.
Play Whiskey Wednesday, Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you could win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select $2 at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single-barrel bourbon to try with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21. Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order.
Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast, the official podcast of bourbon. We are here today in our, I could say, our regular recording studios.
Fancy studio.
Yeah, I guess.
Dining room table.
But this is going to be an interesting episode today because, if you're a music lover, I think you're going to enjoy this episode. We've been to this event quite a few times. At least I have personally in the past.
It's been a few years because I've had kids, but it's always a good time.
mean, I remember seeing them, or going to this event back in 2008 to see Counting Crows. I think it was back in 2010 to see Widespread Panic. So it's been a while, but this is we're going to talk a little bit about music. If you're a music junkie, we're going to talk more about bourbon, which is the main reason why we have our guest here today. But just to say that music festivals, they're just fun. There's just really nothing else to really label it as than just that, right?
Yeah, the music festival here called Forecastle. It's in downtown Louisville, right on Waterfront Park. I mean, it's an awesome event. Like I said, I haven't been in a couple years, but typically I don't remember them, so that means I had a good time. But yeah, they always have a great lineup. I mean, they had My Morning Jacket, Sam Smith. I mean, Outkast, tons of great headliners. I mean, so it's a really cool event that shows off downtown Louisville and bourbon also.
So cool. So that's a good segue to introduce our guest today. So our guest is the one who gets to rub shoulders with all these titans of the music industry, right? So today we have JK McKnight. JK is the founder and the captain of the Forecastle Festival. So JK, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I guess before we dive in and kind of just know about maybe like your love of Kentucky and bourbon, I guess we need to set a baseline for people to like, what is Forecastle? Because I'm not too sure if there's a lot of music junkies that are out there. There's people have probably heard of like Lollapalooza or something like that, which are really, really big. But Louisville's not Chicago, right? But kind of give an idea of what is Forecastle.
Yeah, absolutely. So Forecastle is music art activism. So that's kind of our mantra. We've been around for 15 years. And you mentioned Lollapalooza and festivals like Austin City Limits and Bonnaroo that people are familiar with. And Forecastle was actually founded the same year as all those festivals, but it has a little different of a growth curve. We've kind of taken our time to get from essentially 60 people in 2002 to 65,000 this year. So, a lot of our job and my job is how do we take all the best assets of Kentucky and roll it out on a red carpet for people coming in from 49 states, 2,200 cities, and 11 countries at this point. It is largely a younger audience. I've heard people come to me all the time and say, we have Derby, for this, and then we have Forecastle, so it's kind of
for us common folks.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that to me all the time, but it's a really unique event. I mean, there's nothing like it in the country right now. I mean, again, we have the festival is really divided between heavy music programming. We've had over 500 bands. You mentioned some of them before. I mean, we've had the Black Keys, Alabama Shakes, My Morning Jacket, Sam Smith, Outkast, the Avid Brothers. This year we have Sturgill Simpson, LCD Sound System, Weezer, Odessa, Cage the Elephant, PJ Harvey, Run the Jewels, Nathaniel Radcliffe. I mean, tons and tons of amazing artists that to get that kind of lineup in Louisville, Kentucky in the peak of summer festival season. We're competing against Europe and Asia and all these, thousands of festivals now across the country. It is pretty amazing, So, but we really take it seriously. We look at it as an opportunity. Again, we have all these young people from all over the world that ascend on Louisville. We have over 400 credentialed media that are in town. Everyone from the New York Times to, Garden and Gun, Southern Living,
Bourbon Pursuit.
It's a real opportunity to showcase Louisville and showcase Kentucky. And that's what we try to do. And bourbon is kind of the crown jewel of that. We have the largest experiential bourbon activation in the United States at Forecastle. It's over 15,000 square feet, indoor, outdoor space. We have 10, all the Kentucky Bourbon Trail members are there. We have a stage, mixology area, culinary oasis. We have educational programming throughout the day. We have all this commemorative merchandise we do. It's just, it's a whole kind of smorgasbord of everything bourbon, and people love it. I mean, especially all the out-of-town consumers that come in just absolutely eat it up, drink it up.
Yeah, so I want to dive in that a little bit deeper, but in a few minutes. But I kind of still want to touch on like the festival in general, right? Because the people really they come here for the festival, and we'll talk about the bourbon part here in a minute, because the bourbon part is kind of almost like a festival within the festival, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about just Forecastle in general, and kind of what you kind of hinted at earlier to say that you've got Derby, and then you've got Forecastle to kind of hit a bunch of different demographics, a bunch of different age ranges, price points, the kinds of personalities that join these things. What do you think has what Forecastle has really meant to Louisville over the growth of this time as well?
Well, it's meant a lot. I mean, just, if you're just looking at, say, economics in general, I mean, we've had over $100 million of economic impact on the city of Louisville since we began, which is huge. But I think, more importantly, that's just the cultural impact. Forecastle is a brand now that's recognized coast to coast. I'll be in an airport in LAX and, someone will see my business card hanging off my, my travel stuff and ask me, oh, are you involved with Forecastle? I went 3 years ago, loved it, and coming back. That happens all across the country. I remember last year I was checking into a hotel in Charleston, South Carolina, and someone saw the Forecastle emblem on the side of our car, immediately started asking me all about it. So, I think it's, just like we have great bands, here from Louisville that are great ambassadors to our city. I think Forecastle is, plays a role there too.
Right. So I got kind of a selfish question for me and Ryan, because Ryan and I are, we're kind of a little bit, we were early into the techno thing, but now we're in the EDM scene.
Oh, yeah.
But I know like EDM is sort of been almost like coming up a little bit in Forecastle over the recent years too. Like it's not really showcased a lot on the website, but there's always like an EDM tent that's always been going on in the past few years, hasn't there?
Yeah, and that's a great story. It's called the Ocean Stage. And, so we have a dedicated stage to electronic music, and it started about 7 or 8 years ago as a pool party on the Gald House. Red Bull came in, helped us create a little pool party with some local and regional DJs. It went so well. A year ago, we brought it out to the festival, really small stage. Now it's grown into our third largest stage, and we've had Big Boy on it. We've had A-Track headline it before, and we've had so many. Washed Out played last year. We got Tycho is playing this year, but it's an amazing story, and that's where definitely a lot of the young people kind of congregate is around that Ocean Stage. But
us old guys
trying to relive,
creep our way in.
Yeah, but this year's definitely programmed a little more heavy on the electronic side than previous years. I mean, Odessa, is one of our headliners. Who's really big. Grizz is playing. Phanogram is going to be playing. So it's definitely been growing. I mean, you see the electronic scene in Europe; it's massive, and it's kind of been boiling up here in the States too. So we try, we really kind of focus on 4 core genres, and I think electronica is one, and bluegrass. Ironically, bluegrass is another.
How weird! You come to Kentucky,
you want bluegrass. I mean,
you probably want to come here and hear some bluegrass.
It really is. I mean, it's a mix of you do. I mean, you kind of have rock and hip hop and bluegrass and electronica, but it merges together in such a seamless way on site, and you have different stages kind of for different things. And what we like about it is that I feel like anyone who comes, no matter what age they are, they can find something to latch onto. But to have headliners as diverse this year is Weezer, and then Odessa, and then Sturgill Simpson. And I think everyone can find something they can enjoy.
Awesome. So you have another question you want to ask about the music?
Well, I was just gonna say, probably the first thing people think of Kentucky coming to a festival, they're probably not thinking Odessa and electronica. So it's cool that you can offer that to appeal it to everyone.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean, we joke about it like you have Derby, and then for everyone else you have Forecastle. But I mean, people really feel that way. A lot of young people here feel that this is their Derby. For a lot of the millennials, this is the biggest social event of the year for them.
Right.
And I'm barely out of that age group now, which is really, it was really odd for me now. I think we are too. I'm just barely,
because it used to, you said you started this 15 years ago, right? So it was basically like, it was kind of like we created it and we're still a part of it. And we're still like breaking out the bands, and you're like, all right, it's 9 PM. You all got it from here. I got to head back home.
I know.
Get some sleep.
I know. It used to be like 4 nights being up all night, because we have these late night shows that go in the Bell of Louisville till 4 a.m. and we have stuff all over the city. And And now it's like, it's like 11 o'clock. I actually need to go back. I have a new daughter now too. So it's going to even get more like that.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into why you're on the show today, because we could probably talk about Humphreys McGee and drive-by truckers for the next hour if we wanted to, but
Yeah.
But this is the 5th year in a row, at least I think, that you guys are featuring what's called the Bourbon Lodge here at Forecastle. So let's start at the very beginning. Like, what was the idea behind drinking bourbon in 100-degree weather in the middle of July?
I was going to ask the same thing.
That's such a great way to tee up that question, because I'll give you the answer and it goes exactly to what you're saying. So I'll admit, so we kind of stole the idea a little bit. I'll admit. So we are partners because we're also involved in Bonnaroo Festival in Tennessee, and we have actually 7 major festivals now across the U.S. But our partners do a festival called Outside Lands in San Francisco, and they have this huge wine activation out there. I mean, it's like second to none for the festival world. And so, a friend of mine in our department, came back one day and said, Outside Lands is just doing a great job of wine. Why are we not doing the same thing with bourbon in Kentucky? And that was it. I mean, they just said that. And I kind of took the reins from there and, started small, like we do everything with Forecastle, and grew big. And again, now we're the largest experiential bourbon activation in the U.S. But it started, the prototype that first year, we did it in the 10th anniversary of the festival in 2012. My Morning Jacket was curating the festival that year with us. And it started literally as a 30 by 30 tent that a friend of ours, a dear friend, Stephanie Lindsay, who's now our head designer for the lodge, outfitted in this really, way, in this kind of turn of the century Rick House meets Prohibition era speakeasy kind of vibe, aesthetic, atmosphere. And we had 3 brands. And it was so hard for me to convince brands to do it.
Right.
Really, the only ones that did it were really good friends of mine.
You're going to play electronic music?
Yeah, exactly. They did. Yeah, we had Bass Nectar headline that year, I think, and Wilco was playing a bunch of stuff. But it really was. It was Woodford Reserve, Four Roses, and Town Branch. And I guarantee you they were only doing it because they were really good friends of mine. And they just thought, because I remember reaching out to brands and them telling me exactly what you just said, that no one is going to drink bourbon in the summertime when it's that hot.
Right.
I had that. I have brand managers who literally said that exact word and turned us down. So it was a big gamble. I mean, we had no idea how it would do. We priced it. I mean, you could go in there and get I think we're doing deals like 4 1-ounce pours for $8 or something, just like stupid prices, because we didn't know if anyone was going to do it, was going to show up. Well, within about 15 minutes of gates opening, there was a line 50 yards long to get into a tiny 30 by 30 tent. By that evening, there was fights breaking out, and there was running out of product, and all the brand reps were hammered walking around. I mean, brand managers were freaking out that we were going to run out of product for the whole weekend because we were everything was going so fast. So we knew immediately that first night that we had something that was going to be real special.
So were people just getting cocktails? Or are they ripping shots? What were those?
The first year there was no mixology. There's no specialty cocktails.
Yeah.
We do all that stuff now, but no, it was just base product, and we had the brand reps there talking about the product. But I mean, by that evening, it was.
Sounds like I can just see the stories are coming back.
Oh yeah, they are. I got a great one I could tell about my brother-in-law right now getting into a fight with a big guy that he bumped into. My dad, who was working the security, coming in and saving the day. But we knew immediately that night that this was actually going to be way bigger than we ever thought it'd be. So long story short, we survived that first year. And in the second year, we went all in, and we went from a 30 by 30 lodge to a 90 by 60. Now we're up to 170 foot by 90 turn of the century Rick House, meets Prohibition era speakeasy type thing. And, yeah, it's amazing. We just keep adding on to it. I mean, it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it really is kind of its own festival within the festival. We sell memberships into it in advance. So we sell thousands of memberships where, you pay $30 and you get a copper mug, and you get tickets, so you can get in really quickly, and we do merchandise and all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty amazing to see. I mean, to see it grow from something that was really small and, again, a complete experiment, and to see it now just come, be completely within its own. And, again, we have educational programming throughout the day that's actually pretty sophisticated now. That the topics that we're going over are pretty high level.
Talk about that education programming, right? Because I think when I'm going there for a music festival, the last thing I want to, at least in my opinion, I'd be like, wait, I'm gonna go miss this concert to go listen to somebody speak. So kind of like what's the sales pitch behind that? Like, what's the idea behind doing that, and what was the real marketer?
Yeah, it's a little tricky. I mean, we do schedule the programming. It all ends by like 6:00, so that's one thing. And we do schedule it kind of between some of the main stage acts, but you're right. I mean, and that's taken a couple of years to tweak to get right. But we have found that when we time it perfectly and we have the right guest and the right topic, that there's a real thirst for that knowledge. And again, what's cool about being in the Bourbon Lodge is you're meeting people from all over the country. I remember Greg Fisher and I one time just walked around and pretended like we were just concert goers, and went and just introduced ourselves to people and just asked them questions about their perception of Kentucky, their perception of bourbon, kind of their whole IQ on everything.
For anybody that doesn't know, Greg Fisher is the mayor of Louisville.
The mayor of Louisville, yeah.
For anybody that's listening out of town here.
Yeah, and then at the end of it, then we told them who we were. But we're meeting people from Florida and Oklahoma and Alaska and Australia and New York and all over the place. And it was just amazing because these people that come in from everywhere, I mean, they want to learn more about bourbon culture. And what's important in the festival world today is that you're able to differentiate your brand from all the other ones that are out there. And bourbon's a key differentiator for us. I mean, we feel like we do it better than any other festival in the country. And and Fred Minnick has said that publicly, and other people have too. And I think it's true. We're getting new consumers from everywhere, and they're coming in, and they're not just coming in just to go to the Wild Turkey setup or the Four Roses or Cooper's Craft or whatever it might be. I mean, they're actually going to sit down for a panel, and listen for 30 minutes about the barrel making process, about the cooperages, about the aging, about the different expressions that Maker's Mark and other brands are getting creative with. And it's really interesting to see people come in and just have that desire for just more and more and more knowledge. And every year we up the ante, and we take the programming up a level, we take everything up, and we're just seeing people wanting more of that. Which is surprising to me. Sometimes people will propose doing certain things, and then I'll be like, that's going to be way over everyone's head. No bourbon nerds are going to sit down there and listen to, a panel about, the French oak stave process and these new Makers barrels. They're not going to listen to it. And I'm wrong. I'm wrong. There'll be 75, people, 100 people deep, listening, hang on to every single word. And what's cool this year is so what we're doing this year is taking it up a notch. We're actually introducing a rarities bar that Liquor Barn, who presents a lot of the programming and a lot of the activities inside the Bourbon Lodge. We're working with all our brand partners with the Kentucky Bourbon Trail to bring in rarity product that you can't find anywhere else.
Well, it's really cool because, I mean, when I think about this and having, people are, like you said, 11 countries of what people are coming from out of the country for this. You've got people coming from out of state. There's always a huge slew of, that's when everybody kind of comes out of Louisville for Forecastle as well, right? So you're pushing, a lot of good agendas there because, I've been to a 3-day festival before, and sometimes you're like, I need a break, right?
Yeah, it's a good way to break up the music, and hammered.
And so that's something else too. The bourbon, I should have mentioned this to begin with. Like the Bourbon Lodge is completely air conditioned. It's almost a pseudo VIP experience. I mean, there's private bathrooms inside. There's a whole chef and culinary component to it. I mean, it is kind of a VIP experience for people. So that definitely helps too.
The AC just sold me because
Yeah.
it gets hotter than hell out there sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point of sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone. Transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon. If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription.
Yeah, because you have this thing on your website. You call it in lieu of a beer garden, you call it a bourbon garden, right? Having AC and all that sort of stuff, but which is going to be pretty. I don't know. Most people would be like, I'll be more than happy to pay the extra $30 for a ticket to have a few breaks in the AC in the middle of July weather, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's again, there's a whole multitude of kind of VIP amenities that we offer inside, and that's really cool because not everyone can afford to get a VIP ticket. So for the ones who can't, who can go in the Bourbon Lodge and experience all that, it's really good for everybody.
So talk a little bit more about the cocktail aspect of this, right? Because we already mentioned like who's going to drink bourbon in the middle of July under weather, right?
Right.
I think you've already
They're not doing it neat. Probably.
you've already debunked that. And
You'd be surprised.
I was going to say, I was like, I'm sure some people are. If you got AC, I'm sure it flips your mental thinking right away. So kind of talk about the other aspect. People that are still getting into bourbon, but they understand that they don't want to sit there and start drinking it neat right away. But there's a mixology and a cocktail aspect to this as well. So kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's huge. I mean, again, we're driving tens of thousands of millennials, tens of thousands of new bourbon consumers that are very interested, but who are not probably have the IQ that we have here in Louisville on bourbon because they're coming in from out of town where they're not exposed to the culture every day like we are. And so for those, folks, which is a majority of the audience, it's really important to build bridges there so that, they're not going to go up and try, the bulleit cask strength, right out of or the Woodford double oaked or double oaked that we have in there.
Yeah, it's like what Tim said. He's like a neat bourbon, no matter the proof to a newbie, is going to taste hotter than hell.
Right. Exactly. So we do we have a huge mixology area. It's a big island that's in the middle of the lodge. So the circumference of the lodge is all the brands. And they bring out these great exhibits and activations that their brand reps are at, and they get to talk about the products. But those different stations are predominantly people are getting the product neat there, but there is signature cocktails that we offer. We've just been doing that for a year now. So people can go to each individual bar, again, Four Roses, Wild Turkey, Woodford Reserve, Old Forester, Cooper's Craft, Jim Beam, you name it, we have it. They can get a signature cocktail there. But what most people do is they'll get the base product. They'll learn a little bit about the product by talking with the brand reps at each station. And then they'll walk over to the mixology island and then they'll mix it with a soda, or just put some ice in it, or
So it's a mix your own kind of cocktail sort of thing.
exactly.
Okay,
They get to pick anything that they want to do. So you get your base product at each individual brand exhibit, you could say, and then, or activation, and then you go to this island and you can go and pick whatever you want.
Is there like a flip book of things to be like add this much sugar, or this much lime, or whatever they say, like to make this sort of custom cocktail? Or is it kind of like
we do have some custom cocktails that we offer, but most people kind of know what they want, and I mean, obviously a lot of people will come and I want a mint julep. And
Right.
they'll
Never had one before.
right. Or, I want an old fashioned or something like that. So we also hire, some pretty elite bartenders, for the whole Bourbon Lodge experience. So it's, so that, everyone can really have an elevated experience inside there.
That's real cool because, you named off a lot of the brands already. Another ones that were on there was Larceny of Heaven Hill and Michter's. And I mean, you pretty much have all the big guns on board. So is it start easier to make those phone calls now for having them be a part of this?
Well, so we're really fortunate because basically, we're partnered with the mothership with KDA, and for those folks that are out of town, it's the Kentucky Distillers Association, aka the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. So we work with all the brands on the Bourbon Trail, but predominantly directly through KDA, and then they work with their members, to coordinate everything and get everyone inside the lodge. And it's a lot, because again, we announced the Bourbon Lodge lineup about 6 months out. And from that moment on, I mean, there is weekly or bi-weekly updates with, again, the programming, the chefs that we're going to be bringing in, the signature cocktail list, all the different elements that are involved. We're announcing from that moment on until the festival. So it's continuous programming. And it's just, it's exciting. I mean, when we started this 5 years ago, I never, I didn't envision it would get to this size, and to be able to keep adding and adding on to it, is really amazing. It's really its own festival within our festival.
Now you're gonna need like one of those trailers they have in Vegas, the IV ones. You pay $200, get rehydrated.
You all are hitting on every. Did you all see some scripts here? Because we're talking about that right now too.
Oh, I would pay.
Yeah, I mean, it's some people know their limits, and other people who are new to it, who are maybe trying some of those cast strength products that we have inside there, very quickly figure out what their limits are. But it's been an amazing experience, and to be able to do something on a level that no one else is out there in the music industry is pretty amazing. And again, I think we see ourselves as ambassadors. We see ourselves as a bridge that really takes young people from all over the country and introduces them to Kentucky the right way.
Absolutely. And not to make sure we condone this, make sure we always say, like, always drink responsibly.
Oh,
but
yeah.
remember, you are at a music festival, so drink responsibly enough to still have fun, right? Yeah.
And and to build off that, something cool too to mention. So we have the Bourbon Lodge, which is a really specialized experience. But on the flip side, the little brother, you could say, the Bourbon Lodge is the Gonzo Bar. So, in the spirit,
talk to us about that a little bit.
So in the spirit of kind of rolling out the red carpet with all these amazing Kentucky brand assets, we have a bar dedicated to Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, cool.
On site on the Great Lawn, which is where the main stage is. And there you don't get samples. So you don't try 1 ounce, 1.5 ounce, half ounce pours, but you actually get you get full Hunter S. style bourbon cocktails, and we have 8 different variations that we offer. And then just like the Bourbon Lodge on the mixology side, people pick the bourbon that they want, and then we concoct a pretty amazing cocktail, pretty stiff cocktail that Hunter would appreciate. And it's cool in there. I mean, we took the concept from Beetlejuice and we built this whole bourbon bar, and it's real imaginative and decorative, and it takes us about 5 days to build this bar. But we have character actors that are walking around. We have a typewriter inside where people type messages to each other. And we have all these Hunter S. Thompson, memorabilia and props and everything, artwork inside, caricatures. And, so that's a whole nother way to experience bourbon. If you don't have the time, like you said,
if you don't want to ease into it,
if you don't want to ease into it, you just want to go straight in, like Hunter S. Thompson did his whole life. That's what you could do. And in that spirit too, I mean, there's so many other amazing Kentucky assets that we have. We have an area called the Kentucky Landing, which is all, we feature all the best craft breweries, we feel like, from the state of Kentucky in that area. And we have local businesses featured, local artists, nonprofits there. We have an area called the Party Cove, which my sister puts together. It's like this 35-foot boat that local DJs play on and people are dancing in front of, and there's mermaids walking around everywhere. I should have mentioned that before, but Forecastle is a nautical term. It's the cruise quarters of a ship.
Okay,
so
cool.
Everything in the festival is wrapped in this kind of nautical decor. So you really feel like you're coming aboard a ship, when you enter the festival, and everything.
When you're right there on the Ohio, too.
And you're right there in the water, exactly. So everything you see and experience there is wrapped in this kind of nautical blanket. So yeah, so you have a festival that's like music, art, environmental activism, bourbon, nautical. It's an interesting mixture that you don't really
sensory overload.
Sensory overload, but it definitely takes you out of your space, and puts you into this new environment. And we just hope that people walk away with just a really amazing impression of our state and our city and everything that we have to offer.
That's awesome. So I want to do one more sell in the Bourbon Lodge, and that's sort of the food, right? Because you have a friend of the show, Jason Bronner from Bourbon's Bistro, that's taking care of some of the food in there. So is that just something that's just a Bourbon Lodge only kind of limited access?
It has been. It's just the Bourbon Lodge, and we've been doing a different chef every single year. But this year we're actually we're bringing Jason back for a consecutive year because he did such an amazing job last year. But yeah, that's another caveat to come in the Bourbon Lodge is we have these chef bourbon culinary pairings, which is it's a segment that I feel is just going to explode in years to come. I'm a little surprised it hasn't exploded yet. And Bourbon's Bistro obviously was at the forefront of that whole movement years ago. So having Jason in there and being able to come up with all these different concoctions. I mean, I think last year he did this like amazing bourbon barbecued shrimp po' boys and he had this whole eclectic lineup of food that kind of represented all different areas of the South, and people were really receptive to it.
Well, that's awesome. So with that, we're kind of wrap up a little bit. So if people want to get Forecastle tickets and they want to get access to the Bourbon Lodge, tell them how to go do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just go to forecastlefest.com and you go to tickets, and we definitely recommend getting tickets early because as each ticketing tier sells out, the price gets higher. So get it soon before it goes up to the next tier. And then you can buy Bourbon Lodge tickets as part of your package there. And like I said, that'll give you tickets, that you get to use for the bourbon inside the lodge. It'll give you a commemorative mug and give you just a great experience inside.
Well, it's awesome. I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I haven't been in a couple years, but after all the bourbon talk, I think I'm ready
to get back on.
Ready to get back.
Right.
maybe 1.5 or 2 days worth. Maybe not all 3.
Yeah, it'll take till Wednesday to recover, but it'll be worth it.
It's amazing to see how many people buy weekend passes. And I guarantee you do not show up on Sunday. I always feel like 10% of the audience has been out till 4 a.m. Friday and Saturday and just doesn't even show up.
Yeah. Just can't do it.
Can't do it.
It is one thing that a lot of people that travel to the city, they don't know, because you go to any other city, a lot of bars, they close at midnight or 1 or 2. Here in Louisville, it's 4 a.m.
Exactly.
It's nothing good happens.
We embellish that. I mean, we really do. I mean, our late night shows aboard the Belle of Louisville, those go till 4 a.m. And, all the bars in downtown Louisville and the Highlands and Germantown and all these great neighborhoods we have, stay open that weekend a little later than they normally would.
Yeah.
We actually used to throw a Forecastle after party at my house and get my DJ equipment out.
There you go.
Put on a little show.
There you go. Yeah, for every official late night show, there's probably a dozen unofficial.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ryan owes you some royalties.
Sorry.
I think.
Just put foot in my mouth.
Well, JK, I want to say again, thank you for coming on the show today. It was a pleasure. First off, getting to meet you and learning more about the history of Forecastle and what you guys are doing inside the Bourbon Lodge, the educational seminars that are happening to give a lot of those music goers a break, as well as the food and the cocktail experiences, and just kind of how you're giving that opportunity to experience a lot of things inside of Bourbon. Because you got to think, people are traveling here. They're here for 3-4 days, but they're not gonna be able to fit into a distillery tour because they're here for a music festival, right? So being able to give them that experience,
bring it all to them.
That's a really cool concept.
Yeah. And you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, we know people only have a limited amount of time here, so we're trying to take all of those, the best assets of Kentucky that we can and roll it out on a red carpet for everyone on site at the waterfront.
I got a question. Do you have to pay to repair the waterfront lawn afterwards?
Yeah, we do. We saw. Well, you should. And it's the worst part of that is the area underneath the Bourbon Lodge.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's and you can always tell. 3 days after the festival, exactly where the Bourbon Lodge was, because it's that giant mud pit that's in the the backside of the festival. Now, luckily this year we are rolling out wood flooring for the Bourbon Lodge. That's an exclusive right here on the Bourbon Pursuit. We haven't told anyone that yet, but we are flooring the whole Bourbon Lodge this year, so we don't have all the grass and all the mud that comes up after the festival.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. So if you want to get tickets, you make sure you go to forecastlefest.com. It is July 14th through the 16th of 2017 this year, and you'll have to check again online for next year and the year after that, and so on and so forth. But again, JK, want to say thank you for
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And delving that little secret too. It was a nice little touch, right?
That's your exclusive. Yeah, wood flooring. People have been clamoring for wood flooring, and when you have thousands of people going through this lodge, you're right. It takes a beating on the grass, on the turf. So we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, awesome. So if you like what you hear, make sure you support the show on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit. Make sure you follow Forecastle on all those great social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, probably Snapchat too. You guys probably have your own Snapchat filter during
YouTube
the filter
as well.
YouTube, see, it's everywhere, and we're on YouTube as well. I don't even talk about that one. So so we're youtube.com/Bourbon Pursuit, Facebook Bourbon Pursuit, Instagram, but we also publish all our episodes on YouTube, so you can make sure you catch them there if you can't catch them on iTunes or anything like that.
Awesome. JK, once again, appreciate it. If you guys have any show suggestions, feedback, comments, we'd love to hear it. And,
write us a review. Write reviews.
We definitely need some more reviews. I mean, come on. I know y'all love us. So
we need some more reviews on iTunes. So if you can get that, that'd be awesome.
Yes, and we'll see you next time.